60 facts about the Beatles in under 10 minutes. The Beatles are widely regarded as one of the most influential groups to emerge from the famous music scene of the 20th century. While everyone is familiar with their hits, there are some things about the Beatles members, also known as the Fab Four, that you might not know. Here are our top 60 facts about the Beatles in under 10 minutes. Number 1. Ringo Starr wasn't the original drummer for the band. He replaced Pete Best in 1962. Number 2. Beatles fans claim that Pete Best was only kicked out because the other Beatles were jealous of his looks and popularity. Number 3. John Lennon found out he was dyslexic late in his life. Number 4. Lennon used to say that he would prefer to be part of Monty Python than the Beatles. Number 5. The Beatles group was only a band for 8 years, from 1962 to 1970, and were often called the Fab Four. Number 6. None of the Fab Four ever learned to read sheet music. Number 7. The Beatles were originally rejected by Decca Records, and their manager, Brian Epstein, was told that guitar groups weren't popular anymore. Thankfully, EMI later took a chance on the Beatles and signed them. Number 8. Some fans were so outraged when Best was kicked out from the band that they got violent. George Harrison was even punched in the eye by one of the fans. Number 9. The Beatles made a big impact in encouraging women's liberation, gay liberation, anti-war, and environmentalist movements. Number 10. On February 9, 1964, the Beatles made an appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show at Studio 50 in New York. This was the highest viewed episode of The Ed Sullivan Show ever, with 73 million people tuning in to watch them perform, and it is still one of the most viewed shows in the history of television in the United States. Number 11. John Lennon was often called the clever one of the Fab Four. Number 12. John Lennon was a published poet. John first started writing in a magazine called The Daily How, which was his creation. Number 13. The first band Lennon ever played in was the Quarrymen. They started in the school days in Liverpool and played skiffle music and later evolved into what we know as the Beatles. Number 14. In 1966, John caused a lot of controversy in the Bible Belt of America after saying that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus. People even started mass burning the Beatles albums because of this. Number 15. Lennon was also in a lot of other bands, including the Silver Beatles, Johnny and the Moondogs, the Plastic Ono Band, and the Dirty Mac. Number 16. Even though John Lennon had poor eyesight, he was initially too embarrassed to wear glasses and usually wore contacts. Number 17. John Lennon was very inspired by Elvis Presley as a young adult. He styled his clothes and hair on the King of Rock, wearing leather jackets and smearing his hair back with gel. But Lennon was disappointed when he met the legend himself, saying that Elvis was very disinterested and disengaged. Number 18. Lennon divorced his first wife, Cynthia Lennon, in 1968, leaving her for Japanese artist Yoko Ono after 6 years of marriage and having a child together. Number 19. On December 8, 1980, John Lennon died in New York after a crazed fan shot him 4 times. The attack took his life when he was just 40 years old. Number 20. There is a John Lennon memorial in Central Park, New York, called Strawberry Fields, with a mosaic